what's up? BigHerc916, positivity, motivation, never settle for average. You know how we do it over here. I'm always talking about be careful of the company you keep, because the people you have around you influence you in ways sometimes you're not even conscious of. And the way you talk, the way you walk, your body language, even how you go about finding your mate, your spouse or your future wife, all that is affected by the people you hang out with. If the people you hang out with don't have a lot of ambition, sit around and gossip a lot, maybe just go to work, go to the bar, come home, and don't really do too much else, you're gonna do the same thing. And you're gonna marry somebody that does the same thing. Goes to work, maybe hangs out the bar, goes dancing on the weekends, comes home. You're gonna do the same thing. You're not gonna break any type of mold to have any super level of success until you somehow put yourself around people who think out that box. I mean, just listen to this and tell me what you think.
95% of your thinking is determined by the people that you associate with on a regular basis. If you associate with people who don't work hard, don't learn, socialize after work, then you become like them. You think like them, you talk like them, you dress like them, you marry them, and so you're married to someone who also has no ambition. And you raise children, and your children have no ambition. You just go to work and complain about your work. But top people associate with other top people. There is what you've heard about the law of attraction. And the law of attraction says that if you change the way you think, you start to attract new people into your life. If you become aggressive about personal development and personal growth, you start to meet other people who think the same way. And the old groups of people that you associated with fall away, and the new group of people appears. So people say, well, where do I find positive people who are thinking about success all the time? First you become one, and then you'll naturally attract it.
Hey man, it kind of speaks for itself. And I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with just doing a repetitive cycle of life, if that's what you're cool with. Getting up, going to work, hanging out with your buddies, watching football on the weekends, and just kind of doing what you've been kind of taught to do, taking your kids to maybe Chuck E. Cheese, soccer practice, whatever the case may be. But there's a conditioning in there, and when you kind of look outside that conditioning and why there's what they call a percentage of people who are able to somehow have this certain level of success, it's because of something they saw or was able to break away from. And I'm not perfect. I'm still working on a lot of things, and I've always tried to make sense of it because, when I used to go and just even sit in the classroom, it just felt weird. You're sitting in the classroom and you're supposed to do this assignment. You're wondering how this is going to change your life, or is this your calling? And when you're learning different things at a different pace, sometimes you're thinking, well, man, teacher, I'm already done with my assignment. Can I go on to this? Or this right here doesn't really interest me, but I'm more interested in this. These are things that are not cultivated within the home, within the community, within just the social circles, because it doesn't fit the program. Now, if your parents are kind of outside that program and they have you in these little, maybe these special classes where you're able to kind of think out the box, do things that work around your own creativity, whether it's the arts, whether it's the music, maybe it's focusing on language, linguistics, and different things of that nature. Your mind kind of it expands, and there's no limitations placed on it, and you attract other people who think the same way. People who, what we consider nerds. It's all right to be a nerd, man. It's all right to be what they consider to be corny. I used to be in certain classes where it was almost embarrassing if you got a B. It was embarrassing. Everybody wanted an A, and you didn't want an A with a minus. You wanted an A or an A plus. And that was kind of like the tone that was set in my school days early on, just from my mom and my grandfather looking at my report card. And you start getting a little, a couple B's in there. There's like, hey, what's going on with this, topic? What are you not doing? And so I had a very high expectation of myself, but I feel like sometimes fall back and possibly even dumb myself down to feel like I fit in more. Because even when I was hanging around certain people, I was like, man, this just didn't feel right. And I knew it didn't feel right, but I was still trying to be a part of something. Even some of the girls that I met in high school, I was never one of those guys who just gonna skeet up and everything. I'm like, man, I'm not getting this girl pregnant, man. I'm not gonna have a baby with her. And some guys didn't care. They were getting girls pregnant left and right. They didn't care who they skeeted in. But for me, just something I'm cool. I just had some type of vibe internally that made me think a little bit differently. But I couldn't really put a finger on just my subconscious to figure out why it was that I felt like this wasn't normal to me, where some guys picking up a 40 ounce, doing certain things, oh man, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, that was the norm. For me, it would have been acting. I would have been acting if I was picking up weed and smoking it or drinking, out of a bottle. That was acting to me. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I felt more comfortable when I was maybe drawing or writing down stuff, things that somebody on the outside looking in would be like, oh, that's nerdy. Oh man, that's some square shit. That's how I felt. So I was always, searching for something and couldn't find it. And I don't know, my tribe and the people I felt like I fit in with a lot of times didn't look like me. When I used to talk to certain people, they're like, oh man, where'd you grow up at, man? Where'd you talk different? Talk different? I mean, I could talk like whatever over here if I need to fit in, but my natural tone of conversation was talking like how I talk now. And that's what my grandparents taught me. That's what my mom taught me. It wasn't at home. We weren't talking with no slang and all that stuff. That wasn't in the household at all. You pull your pants up, you talk a certain way, you button your shirt up, tuck your shirt in, wash your face. There was a lot of things, hold the door, say excuse me. There was a lot of mannerisms and stuff I was taught in the house, but somehow lost some of these things in the streets trying to find my way. And so I share these things with you guys to say, hey man, find your way, but don't let the streets pull you in a direction, or don't let certain people pull you outside of what you feel your potential is, because a lot of times you mess around and you have wasted potential. I've seen a lot of guys in a penitentiary who were super smart, got caught up with some gang stuff or some other stuff, and they're around guys now where they're pretending to be dumber than they are so that they're not ostracized. You're like, you talk to the dude one-on-one, you're like, damn, this dude is sharp, but then you see him on the yard, he a totally different person. And that's what a lot of people do in society. at home and they're private, they're one way, but then they go out in society and they try to pretend because they feel the pressure of everybody else. And so they want to kind of like embrace what the culture is. And the culture, it might be shit. It might be garbage. And then you attract a garbage mate. And then you wonder why there's so many divorces, because you get with this person and you're like, okay, because you're trying to be a part of whatever culture, and then or a circle, and then you have a kid with her and find out she's ratchet, garbage, no values. And then, you start really looking at her friends and her family, and you're like, what was you thinking? You were thinking with this. You were thinking with the wrong head. It's just like hanging around some dude and then you see him 5 years later like, oh man, what's up? And you look at the dude like, man, I was hanging out with you. And there's no knock to, whoever you are. I'm just saying, man, as a person, you have to be very conscious of who you put yourself around, what you let your kids hang out with. Go to your kids' parents' house and see how they live. If they live in ratchet, nasty, no values, don't let your kid hang out with that kid. Yeah, they're kids, but I'm telling you, it's a bad influence. Don't let your kids hang out with trash kids, trash family. Bottom line, I don't care how you feel, kids or not, do not let them hang out with them, because it will poison your young fruit. It will poison. We'll start growing weeds. I'm hung out with a lot of people, and sometimes I wonder, like, damn, man. And then I think about like certain things that weren't cultivated in my house because maybe my family didn't know how to really see these talents in me. So some of these talents went undetected. And now I'm older. I'm like, man, I could have been doing this. I could have been doing that. But these are things like you got to pay attention to when you have kids or when you have people around you. Because a lot of times, even in some family members, they have a jealousy, so they don't even want to let you shine when you have that talent. They might see it and try to be like, oh man, that's not that good, when it's really bomb. You might have a skill set that's beyond anything they could imagine, but they're so intimidated by it, they'll be like, oh, that ain't all that. And that's a haterism. So you got to watch out for that too. Some people want you to be around lower frequency people because they're low frequency. They want low frequency to all be together. They don't want you to break the low frequency, because then you'll be shining and they'll feel like, oh, well, why should you shine and they're not shining? But they don't have the capabilities because they're stuck. They want to still be able to have everything you have, but drink, party, get high, sleep in until 11 o'clock, do whatever they're doing, but still you give me what you have. Even though you've been busting your ass, you're a nerd, you study more, you sacrifice, you don't go out and hang out all night, but give me what you got too. Share what you have. It don't work like that, man. But that's how a lot of these idiots want it to work, because they don't want to put in the work and they want you to stay with them, low frequency, around a shit crowd. And that's what you got to watch out for. I mean, you got to get away from the shit crowd, conversations, just what you're hearing on a daily. There's social media is bad enough. You get so many feeds, from whoever's pushing whatever propaganda, and then you hear the news and it's all one agenda and all these different things. Once you shut that off, just say, come out with nature and meditate, find your vibration, find your passion, and then go out and find people who are also passionate, not pretenders. Some people buy stuff just to pretend. They get certain trinkets or certain items, and they project a certain image because they want to be something they're not. Tattoos, the beard, some dudes the gold chain, some people and it's like that's not really who they are, but that's what they're pretending to be because they feel like that's where it's at. That's where the cool people are, or that's where the connections are. But if you be you could be you. Find people who accept you for you, people who will elevate you, people who have a higher consciousness, people who have a higher vibration, people who are attracted to you because of just what you project, and you can still win, and you ain't got to feel uncomfortable in your own skin. You ain't got to be something you're not. That's that's true self right there, is finding your passion, you know. All right, for myself, man, you know, I almost get emotional when, you know, I talk about cars or I get involved in art. And even when I used to do work in school, I used to have my mom sometimes look at my work, and when she used to say like, hey, this and this, I would get mad, not at her, at myself, because I wasn't doing my best. You know, I would be like, Mom, you know, and she's like, okay, well then turn it in like it is. And, you know, I would be like, I'd pout around, but then at the end of the day, I would go fix it. You know, it's just like I would draw something, and if it didn't look like right, I would start over. Even though I put time into that, and I'm like, man, you know, but I always want to be the best at what I did. And not everybody cares about being the best. Some people, they can put together a car, and as long as it runs, has a pretty paint job, they don't care if everything else is raggedy underneath, the wiring, you know, the brakes, you know, they don't care. For me, I like everything to be top notch for what I'm capable of doing. I don't want to put out anything that's not my best. And so, you know, I just got into a habit. Even like right now, I have my wife look at some of my art stuff. And like I said, all this comes back from my mom. Used to read my book reports, or I used to draw stuff. I always wanted to make sure that I was at my highest. And even when I was playing sports, you know, hey, you know, my best performance, I would practice, you know, do things repetitiously. When I skateboarded, I would do ollies over ollies, you know, handstand, all these different things to try to be good. But when I was doing these things, I was doing them by myself. I wasn't doing them with a group of people. When I started trying to acclimate into these groups, these cliques, is when I downgraded my skill set and vibration in order to fit in a lot of times with people who didn't really want the things I wanted at the level I wanted them at. And that took time. That's just immaturity, because I was young. As I got older, I realized that it's far and few between, and a lot of times you'll be by yourself, because a lot of people don't see things how you see them, and a lot of people don't have the discipline you have. But your circle is so important. Man, my circle, if I would have thought more about it, like knowing what I know now, or maybe if my mom would have had more of the knowledge, she could have directed me a little bit differently, you know, me moving around. And maybe not. I was hard-headed, you know, but I know that the people you keep around you is detrimental to your future success. I just want to share that with you guys. BigHerc916, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Go pick up some merch, and you know I get down with that art, so holler at me if you want some art done. Store and pick up a sticker for your car, or a patch, or a sticker for your laptop, or maybe a beanie, or read one of the many books that BigHerc916 has authored. To pick up a limited edition GTA poster signed by me for $10, or with your purchase of a Wig Splitter Porsche t-shirt, I'll throw in a free poster signed. Trick or treat.
Aren't you kind of old for trick-or-treating?
No, actually my mom just dropped me off around the corner. I've had this stubble right here since I was 9 years old.
I think you're too old for candy. Here, try this instead.
Wash your ass soap? Oh, shit. Okay. Wash my ass. Hey, I can use this. I can wash these old sweaty butt cheeks.